Have you heard of the international appeal, the Stop 5G on Earth and in Space? It's Arthur Furstenberg's website. Who's heard of Arthur? Nobody? Oh, right, okay. He's produced a book, and I forget the name of the title. He's showing that in this book, and I've done a presentation on it before last year, it's on our YouTube channel, is that radiation from electrical equipment, can produce symptoms which are kind of flu-like. Right? There's a lot of information in his book about that, and in particular the 1918 Spanish flu, which wasn't a flu at all, according to other information. It was bacterial, and according to Arthur, it was more the radiation, because the radiation, that's when the microwave towers were turned on worldwide about that time. And we had a massive spike of sicknesses and even deaths, possibly related to that. You know, I can't say exactly what it was, but it was related to when they turned on all that stuff. And Arthur is very outspoken on the whole movement, climate, radiation, environmental stuff. And recently, there was a Circuit Court of Appeal based in San Francisco, which refused to reconsider a decision from a child plaintiff demanding that the United States stop permitting, authorizing, and subsidizing the burning of fossil fuels. Right? Something that we've been using for a long time, and that small particulate fuel source is quite damaging to our to the environment. And it looks like with those sort of decisions, it's business as usual. Right? They just want to keep going with their greed and corruption type situations instead of making necessary changes, and there are solutions. We can go a little bit further down. And they're asking us to sign a letter to Elon Musk to stop putting tens of thousands of satellites in space to radiate the Earth with 5G. I don't have the full technical implications of that, but just putting that many satellites in space is pretty dirty stuff to do the atmosphere and whatever. That's my understanding anyway. Now I'll shut this share down, and there's another share I'll bring up. And this is the email I only sent out yesterday or the day before. And I added some information to it. Where are you? Okay, so that's tonight's presentation. Leading off from Rob Halford's Shattering Illusions from Climb to Trial. A short list which I presented over the years, right? It could be up to 15 years that I've presented these sort of solutions for people to consider. And I'll just quickly go through them. One is decentralize the cities, because living in a big city, you're by default a consumer, you're not a producer, right? And according to a lot of the information I've worked with, we're supposed to be more like in tribal communities, rural communities, where we nurture the earth instead of depending on industrial agriculture, because that's very damaging to the topsoil. Right? So we're losing topsoil. I played plenty of movies on that and other stuff. And I put a point here, from Melbourne to Sydney, the land is virtually empty. If you travel by road or air and you look out the window from your jet, you'll notice that the lands are virtually empty. So we're crowding ourselves into big cities, which according to a lot of the data I've worked with, is not a highly evolved way of existence, right? And yet there's heaps of room out there. There's plenty of land to grow food. Third point, massive water projects to green our deserts. Now, I put that in because the Murray-Darling scheme was hugely successful. You know, for several $1 billion, they get about, from what I've seen, $16 billion return from greening that area. And it's a huge area. It's bigger than Victoria from what I can see. It's gone a little bit out of control. There's been some problems recently, and again to do with greed and corruption. So it's not a good sign. The next point is hydrogen for transport. It's a very mature technology. That could eliminate the oil dependence, right? Why aren't we doing it? And there's something that goes with that. Zero emissions energy to power all cities and produce endless hydrogen for transport. So what is a zero emission energy? The hint I was given comes from about 30 years ago, is deep earth hot rocks, which is virtually unlimited and clean, and tidal power. Also, those two technologies are extremely mature, and they would do away with what we call fossil fuels, if they are fossil at all, right? So obviously we're not taking these sort of solution steps, right? We can't expect to force the politicians to do this. We've got to do it ourselves. And the way I back that up is, that's a headline from 3 years ago. And what it says, pack of cheats, it's the Labor Party, and guess who's on the front cover? Daniel Andrews. Don't expect these people to do this job for us. We've got to do it ourselves. And that's the solution we've been presenting for about, you know, like I said, 15 years here. And I just wanted to do a very short intro on that. I could do a complete presentation on how we do this. And the reason why it's important is because it's a consciousness issue, right? We're not changing the consciousness sufficiently in order to implement solutions to improve the way we treat the planet, right? And if you read the Agenda 21, Agenda 30 stuff, the update I encountered just a few days ago, I think it was in the 1992 Earth Summit, which declared that humans are a pest on Earth, and that's why they want to do away with 90% of us, you know, which I call murder. It's not necessary unless, if we change the direction we're going, then it's not necessary, right? But we're not, these leaders are not doing it for us. We've got to do it ourselves. That's my basic message. And just a little aside on that, and then I'll finish up on this topic for now. We've done earth healing meditations before, right? It's a yearly thing. And the power of collective thought, according to the stuff I've worked with, is a very potent power, right? And we might need to organize another one of these, right? And information, which I won't cover now, has been telling us that the harmonic convergence, which happened in 1987. Does anybody remember that? I do. Yeah. It managed to raise the consciousness just enough that we didn't have to go through global catastrophe. You know, I can back up what I've just said with a whole bunch of information. Some of you might have heard of Nibiru, and I'm not going to put any credibility to that. However, if there are situations which can change the direction of humanity, it depends on the consciousness. Right? If the consciousness is low, then things like pole shifts and Nibiru and other natural disasters can occur. If the consciousness is high, they don't have to occur. Right? Now, you may not accept that idea, but the collective also affects the weather, and it also affects global catastrophe or even earthquakes, things like that. That might be difficult to accept, but the universe, the way I back this up is to say that the universe is a mental construction, right? And the more minds are working together on solutions and higher integrity and higher thought, connecting with source, whatever, however you want to put it, the greater the difference is. And so those things don't have to happen. So I'll bring that to a close.